I went over to bake Monday morning with our John. He rung me up. He says, "Ma'am, if you like going to bake up." I said, "Yeah, well, where are you going?" He says, "I'm going to pick up a slide for grandchild." That's my great-grandchild. I said, "I'll come with you." He picked me up and we set off. I said, "We're going into your dad's country now, John." He said, "Yeah, we are." I'm thinking about Jack. Hey. Strange, weren't it, me going to that cafe that day for my dinner? I know what I had now. I'd 6 of pie on a plate. Meat and potato pie. Oh, it were good. They could cook well there. They could. It was called Shaw House that we went to. And I met my mum during my dinner break. I worked in a shop facing the market. Well, I ran it actually. Anyway, after we'd been in a minute or two, 3 men came walking in. I knew them all by sight. One of them was slightly related to me. Well, to my father. He was called Frank. And he was a coal man. And the other 2 looked as though they'd been working with him because they were same colour as best nuts, you know. And they sat down and said, "It's all right." They said, "Yes," my mother and me. They sat down all on this table and they ordered what they wanted from the lady who hovered over them. And they got their dinners. And then Frank says, "Are you at shop yet, Barbara?" I said, "Yes." "Yes, I am." He says, "Do you know my mates?" I said, "Yeah, that's Jackie Miles, isn't it?" He said, "Yes, it's as a coal merchant." I said, "Yeah." I said, "And I believe you're doing a bit as well." He says, "Yes, I am." And he says, "And Jack's helping us today. Do you know him?" I said, "Yeah, by sight. I go to school with his sister, Dorothy." And he smiled. He said, "Yes, you do." Oh, a nice lad, he's quiet. Anyway, my mother started talking to Frank, and I started talking to Jack. Just an odd word here and there. He's always been a quiet chap. Never a lot to say for himself, but when he did, it came out right. You know the type I mean. Didn't waste on words, no. He thought about it first. Anyway, we left. I had to get back to work and my mother were going home. We said bye-bye to Jack and to Frank and the other Jack. And that's where it ended that day, but not for long. Oh no. He drove a wagon normally for a greengrocer's. Hargreaves is in Todmorden. Joe Hargreaves. And I tend to be going home from work at night and I might have picked up a load of shopping for my mum. And then there were bread and cakes from out at shop as well. Pies if there were any left and we were lucky. And this wagon had come up beside of me and used to unwind window down at my side and he used to shout out, "Can I give you a lift? They look heavy, them bags." I said, "Oh yes, I don't mind, thank you." Then he'd turn his engine off and he'd come round the back cab And he'd open the door and put me in. He'd done this for a week or two, giving me lifts. And then one day he said to me, would you like to go out with me on Saturday night? I'll take you for a small run. He said, it'll have to be in wagon. I said, yes, it's all right. Okay. About 6:30 on Saturday night. I said, yes, all right. 6:30 on Saturday night. I got washed and dressed, and all of a sudden I heard the horn on the wagon, and I flew out, and I got in, and it took me up to Hollingworth Lake. Now, I'd never been to Hollingworth Lake, although it's only 5 miles away. I was surprised when I got there. There were boats on the lake. It was nice, and it was a fine September. I always remember. And he saw the ice cream van as we stopped. So he stopped the wagon, and he got out. He said, I'm just going out to ice cream, I won't be long. And when he came back, he had a lovely big wafer for me. And it's as though he knew. He'd asked him to put my raspberry vinegar on. I did love raspberry vinegar. Yeah, I did. I know I'd be about 18, but I was still young at heart. And when we finished his ice cream, he said to me, I'd hoped to have come in my new suit. Been saving up for one, but I've had to leave it behind today. To have it altered, it's just a bit too long in the leg. I said, oh. He says, but when I take you out again, I said, oh. Yes, when I take you out again, he said, I'll have my new suit on. He says, and I'll tell you what we'll do. Would you like to go to see a show at Burnley? Have you ever been? I said, no. He said, well, not this Saturday, the Saturday after. I'll take you. I'll ask your mum first if I can take you. And this went on, and this was usual until the army had him. He went in July, first week of July, and I didn't see him for 5 years. At first I heard from him regular. He was in Durban. He wrote to me off the train that he went up on. He was 3 weeks on that train. They slept on it, ate on it. I allowed so long outside walking, then back on the train again. They had to stop every so often because each man who, Raja, whatever they were, who owned the land, had their own gauge of railways. Something I didn't understand, but it meant like adjusting everything. They used to brew up for the tea off the engine. They pull in at stations where Indian women were sat by the side of the railway wanting to sell things to them, which they gladly bought, because they didn't see any shops or anything. And Jack told me what life was like for the Indian women. He said they'd stop one day for 2 hours, and while they stopped, he saw one of the women creeping away. She was heavy with a child. And when she came back, just before the train set off again, they had a baby wrapped up in a shawl, and her tummy were flat. She'd given birth on her own in a ditch somewhere. He said he was glad that I was the colour that I was and weren't subjected to the life that they had. It'd be about a year after that, my friend came up to supper, and we were sat by the fire talking. She said to me, have you heard from Jack lately? And my mind went to him. I said, no. 10 minutes afterwards, I screamed, which was very unusual for me. I think it must have been the only scream I've ever done in my life. And it seems I was holding my right hip. Jean says, what's the matter? My mum says, put kettle on her and drink a tea. She looks like she's going to faint. So they did, and they gave me a drink. I said, it's Jack. I said, he's been wounded. My mother says, nonsense. I said, I mean it, Mum. I said, it's in his right leg, up here. Ah, well, she says, you don't know for sure. You must wait where you get a letter. I didn't need to wait for a letter. 3 days after I got that dreaded telegram. And Bob, who joined up with him in the forces, he wrote me a letter on that tiny piece of paper to say, Jack, injured. Will be all right. He'll write soon. Bob. And then with months and months and months before I knew. And he were back in fighting then. Well, this went on until he came home. And he came home. Oh, dear me, what a sight he was. He was 6 stone. Well-built lad had gone down to 6 stone. He had a beard down his chest and hair down to his waist. He'd been flown home and then put out in Aldershot to find his own way back. He just crawled in. We give him some of Granny's brandy and a hot drink of tea. Wrapped his feet up and put him into fireplace in a chair and wrapped him up in blankets. Opened the oven door for extra heat to get out to him. Oh, God. It took quite a while to get him back into condition. The army had finished. They'd had what they thought were the best of him. He went in A1 and came out C3. Could have been the best years of his life, but we made up for him after. It's like he said, life's for living, not for thinking back, not for remembering old sores. It's for living.